r/ask Reddit. What became so popular at your school that the teachers had to ban it? Capri Suns. Kids were too stupid to figure out how to get the straws in and teachers got tired of helping everyone. That's hilarious and sad. What's weird is Capri Suns were easy to puncture, but it feels like between 2005 to 2009 they suddenly became stupidly hard to puncture. Rulers. Year 10 in HS, for whatever reason someone decided to smack a guy across the head with a ruler. Then everyone went out and bought a ruler. Suddenly everyone was a knight with a sword. Staff kept confiscating them, but rulers are cheap, so kids just went out and bought them by the handful. They ended up banning rulers at a school. The kids who were taking geometry that year and needed them had to be assigned rulers at the beginning of class and then turn them back in. If you rub the metal edge of a ruler against the sole of your shoe really fast back and forth, it gets hot enough to seriously burn someone and leave a scar. There was a kid in my high school who made probably around $500 in a month for making duct tape wallets. Administration found out but didn't ban the wallets, just banned conducting business on school grounds. Someone went around school and sold his origami at 50p a piece. He'd get orders every day and then make them at home. Sounds like the school should support the entrepreneurship of its more motivated students, assuming everything they are selling is legal. People bringing in their Game Boy Color and playing during recess. Kids were getting mad they weren't getting turns and they were afraid of someone stealing games. Ducking Jeremy found a copy of Pokemon Silver the day after mine was stolen out of my backpack. Can't get too mad at the kid though. His brother was thrown in jail for murdering their mom about a year after that. We are only allowed to have €2 money for bus. If a teacher that even cares caught you, the teacher would be allowed to take the money and keep it. This was changed due to making it a crime. One time a teacher took €75 from a student. Luckily she was forced to give it back. What the duck is the reasoning behind that? What trouble could you get into with €2? I don't know how they go €2 specifically, but they probably wanted to prevent students from carrying enough money to buy drugs. I was in high school when cell phones finally became accessible enough for most people to have one. It took about a week of senior year for them to declare that no phones were allowed anywhere on school property. Same for my class. But now kids literally have theirs out at their desks using them and the teachers are compliant. Yep, the handbook still says no phones allowed, but that's just not a thing anymore. Kids are, usually, respectful enough not to use them when the teacher is lecturing, but after the lesson is done they're all out. Hallways, everything. Our class president freshman year ran on making them allowed during lunch, and that turned into they're allowed at all times. By junior year we became a tech-friendly campus and now we have school Wi-Fi and you're allowed to bring in any device you want. Laptop, tablet, whatever. Warheads. It grew to such an issue with these sour candies. Kids were organizing a black market where the kids with the highest allowance would buy them in bulk from the corner stores for a nickel each, distribute them to upperclassmen for a quarter each, who would turn around and sell them to the final consumer for 50 cents each candy. There was even a barrier to entry if you wanted in the business. You would have to eat 3 candies at once and not spit it out or throw up. Warheads are the real gateway into drug dealing. Legit happened at my school. Some kid was selling warheads from 8th grade till 10th grade. Once that business ran dry he moved on to jewels, pots, weed, pens, etc. Putting condoms on everything. Pens, people's heads, arms, bags, shoes, smartboard remotes, baseball bats, clocks, balls, literally anything. The best bit was that the school gave out free condoms. They were fueling the opposition. After a week, there was a ban on condoms being out in public. Anyone seen with a condom that wasn't in their bag or blazer was immediately given a detention. In my college there was someone brought in to hand out condoms to people. Over the next few days Tide condoms filled with water kept appearing across a few of the bathrooms. Rubber bands. Kids weren't even using them to shoot at other kids or otherwise misbehave with them. Kids would buy packs of rubber bands, tie the rubber bands together, making like a big rubber band chain. It became a contest to see who could get a chain of rubber bands to stretch the farthest. You couldn't find a pack of rubber bands at a store for probably 20 miles. This was when I lived in a small town. So there wasn't a ton of stores in that 20 miles. Amazon or even public internet access didn't exist yet. One kid got so many rubber bands, they could stretch it the length of the school building. While stupid, I didn't think it was a bad hobby as kids weren't shooting them or shooting stuff with them. It was all about how big of a chain they could make. School rewarded our pointless creativity with a ban on rubber bands at the school. All rubber band chains were confiscated on site. Sounds like the perfect build-up for a senior prank. Rubber band chains blocking all the doors and hallways. Almost like webs crossing the halls between the lockers. The kid that started a tuck shop out of his locker went to a wholesaler's, bought some stuff, sold it, used the profits to buy more, repeat and repeat until he's now staffing a child guard to stop shoplifting and renting other people's lockers for stock overflow. Our classroom just became kids queuing to buy sweets and energy drinks. Sometimes a line so long in 15 minutes he couldn't get everyone waiting served. Then, bam, banned. No selling anything on school property. Pretty much just aimed at this kid. Dude ended up stabbing someone. Got expelled. No idea where he is now, but think his shop getting banned and being replaced with an overpriced healthy staff-run tuck shop squashed his entrepreneurial spirit. This is the most welcome to the real world life story on here. Young up and comer has great idea. Big company comes in, steals the idea and profits from it. That's unfortunate. Pokemon cards. Pokemon was banned for being popular. Magic was banned for being satanic. Pokemon cards got banned at my school because they became an underground currency, and kids were having their cards stolen by bigger kids. It became a huge scandal built out of a bunch of incidents. I remember in the beginning, if you had a super rare card, you'd show it off to all your friends with pride. Towards the end of the Pokemon card craze, if you had a rare card, you'd keep that shit secret and take it to the grave. If anybody found out you had a Chansey or a shiny Charizard, it'd make you a target and it would probably be stolen within a week. In Sweden we had this thing called bug, translate to gay pile. As soon as someone was on the ground lying, everyone threw themselves on making a pile of PPL. I'm 60. When I was in 3rd grade sunflower seeds were banned. I was told the teachers thought they were drugs. I think it was because they were both messy and counterculture like hippie health food. I was in middle school from 2009 to 2011. Bloons Tower Defense was huge. Everyone played it in any room that had a computer. The school had to install special blockers but people kept getting around them so they straight up banned Adobe Flash. Someone at my high school managed to install Quake 3 Arena onto the central server, so it was able to be accessed by any computer connected to the network. There were kids in my web development class playing against other kids having their study hall in the library on the other side of the school. Not sure if the administration ever found out, but the year after I graduated they changed out all of the Windows computers they had for iMacs. We legit had a half an hour lecture in assembly because our year apparently said sorry too often. I'm English. 3 hours and no one's made a Canada joke yet. In elementary school my class was divided in 2 groups, penguins and rats. We would always go to our group for team assignments, for games, for anything really. Somehow an actual rivalry started to sprout until the whole school was divided in these 2 groups, with 1st and 2nd years getting into actual fights and stuff. Pretty soon the principal cancelled recess for a day and went to each classroom to tell us penguin team and rat team were banned. Others did create some smaller animal named groups after that but they all dissolved pretty quickly. Your elementary schools literally created gangs LMAO. Clackers. They were 2 small, hard balls on either end of a long string. You made them clack against each other, but the bullies would hit you upside the head with them instead. I'm old. Pogs. Yup, we got the it's a form of gambling once a bunch of losers lost the pogs they bet and then complained about it. That's how it always goes. The losers' moms come to school and start threatening lawsuits over cardboard circles and everyone's fun is over. Pretty much. And those damn kids were like, he stole my pogs. No you lying shit. You bet them and then lost and cannot abide by the outcome. Like, we had kids who insisted on just playing for fun, and that was okay too. In 3rd grade, a few kids got obsessed with the words cheese, FedEx, and camel. They said them all the time and those words got banned for the entire class. Very similar to something in my primary, there was a week that everyone started saying the catchphrase from adverts and everyone had different ones. There were arguments about who would say what phrase. Those little skateboards, tech decks, we used to trade them and cry over it. An a-hole teacher took mine. Said she'd give it back at the end of the day and I never saw it back. I'll never forgive her. You don't duck with a kid's tech deck. Yu-Gi-Oh! Used to be everyone would show up an hour before school started and we'd play until first bell. Then some little shit named Tyler decided to wager one of his cards and he lost. He ran to his mommy crying about it and then no more Yu-Gi-Oh! Duck you Tyler. Don't bet something you aren't willing to lose. Gel pens. When I was in primary school there was this weird trend where all the girls would suck on the ends of gel pens so their tongues turned into different colors. They would trade pens with each other in the school bathrooms and sneak away from the teachers and go to hidden parts of the schoolyard so they didn't get caught. It was the closest I can think of comparing to a drug ring, but imagine it with 7-year-old girls. One of my friends was really popular because she was the girl who sucked on the most pens and would get caught in literally every class sucking on a different gel pen. And the teachers would always have to walk her out to the nurses. She'd make herself sick and throw up. They eventually banned them. I tried it once and spat it out immediately because it was nasty and tasted like ink. Duh. I didn't get it then and I still don't get it now. When I was a kid our church banned pogs. Called it a form of gambling. All the parents decided to just get rid of their pogs. My dad was cool with pog and he even machined a solid brass slammer for me. He talked with the parents but couldn't change their mind on pog as it was the senior pastor who called for the ban. Long story short, all the church kids gave me their pogs and I was now pog king at school. Those rubber bracelets that denoted different causes that were popular in the early to mid 2000s. We ended up setting up a little black market for them with people trading in different ones and having their arms covered to the elbows in them. I heard that if she wears a insert color one she's into sexual thing. Back in middle school I had a teacher that banned crankin' dat soldier boy in her classroom. To be honest I probably would have done the same thing. When I was in elementary school in the late 90s there was a fad where we would collect Absolute vodka and milk mustache ads in binders, similar to Pokemon cards. It was savage. Kids would bring in magazines by the dozens and just strip out the pages with the ads on it. School banned them because it was such a massive distraction. There was a game called Get Down Mr. President where everyone in an area would put their fingers to their ears like the Secret Service and the last person to do it would be tackled. It could start at any moment and would end up in a dog pile in the hall. I'm not gonna lie, I'm in my 30s and now that I know that's a thing, I'm starting that shit at work tomorrow. Non-clear lunch boxes. Someone kept bringing booze into the school and started a whole trend. I think the only extreme thing in someone's lunchbox was that somehow an entire colony of ants had gotten in. I'm a teacher. A few years ago we had to ban applause. The kids would randomly start a round of applause and just keep going. It was unnerving. It was disrupting lessons, assemblies. Sometimes they would applause in the dining hall or corridors. Still don't know how this trend started or why. The other thing we had to ban was pilgrimage. They apparently learned the word in religious studies lesson. After that they would, in large groups, walk from one end of the school to the other chanting pilgrimage, and basically knocking over anything or person that stood in their way. Acorns. My elementary schoolyard had several oak trees on it and dumbass kids would collect acorns and keep them in their desk. The problem was most of the acorns had worms in them which then escaped into the classrooms. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.